Hi, I'm Rehab, and I stream to no one. Like most streamers on Twitch, I was invisible, talking to a chat that didn't exist, hoping someone might notice. But one day, I had an idea. What if I took on a challenge so extreme that people had to pay attention? Something no sane person would try. If I had any powers at my disposal, they were persistence, discipline, and the ability to persevere through anything that stood in my way. Still, I couldn't help but wonder, could I really brute force my way to success? I had my doubts, but a fire had already been lit. I just had to try. Because no matter the outcome, I knew that on the other side of this challenge awaited memories that would last a lifetime. This is the story of how I did a 24-hour stream every week for an entire year. 52 weeks full of breakdowns, breakthroughs, and the unexpected friendships I made along the way. This is the story behind my epic, year-long journey on Twitch. I began this challenge the only way I knew how. Just hit the start streaming button, silly. Just because I was serious about this challenge didn't mean I had a well-thought-out plan. I had just bought a new house, lived by myself, and was ready to game my socks off. I bounced around from game to game, from Halo MCC to Sweat Bandit and Call of Duty ranked play. And I think my lack of strategy is reflected in the stream summary. I guess it could have gone worse. We did have 5 chatters, 1 new follower, and people at least clicked on the stream. But not a beacon of success for our first week. For week 2, I decided to switch it up and stick to 1 game. Despite Halo being my favorite franchise, it's sadly a niche title these days, especially compared to Call of Duty. But less popular means less streamers, which also means more discoverability. This was shown in our stream summary with almost 20 more unique viewers and a meteoric 100% increase in followers, resulting in a whopping 2 for the stream. Week 3 was a down week where I spent most of it playing COD rank play with my friends, and I was quickly learning that no one wants to watch some random diamond level Call of Duty player grind out average gameplay. So for week 4, I tried something different. I had recently gotten into wrestling again with WrestleMania being in my hometown, so I dressed up like Stone Cold, bought WWE 2K24, and spent the entire stream playing through the various story modes. I wasn't sure how it would go, streaming a new release title without an audience, but I was excited to play something fresh for this week's 24-hour marathon. We had our highest amount of unique viewers, some chatters, and a couple new followers. In theory, this was a success, but you have to remember, this is sprinkled over an entire 24-hour period. So as you can imagine, even the most successful 24-hour streams I was having had a ton of downtime. Hours would go by with no chatters, no interactions, just me talking to myself on camera. I think this is why I was spending so much time playing ranked play despite knowing it was performing the worst. It was simply what my friends were playing at the time. Partying up made these long sessions go by much faster and made it so much more enjoyable. And if they weren't on, I would continue playing Halo since I was grinding out max career rank, and more people seemed to click on my stream there compared to Call of Duty. I'd love to tell you that I had some sort of epiphany or a great idea that sparked new viewers and followers, but this went on for a long time, jumping between Halo and COD, watch partying HCS or CDL events way before they became popular, and to much less success than other people are achieving these days. Not to mention it was getting harder to fit in the weekly stream. On one hand, being single in your 30s usually means you can do whatever you want, but life gets in the way. Whether it's committing to sports leagues, family parties, or friends and family needing your help, it's not always feasible to clear 24 straight hours each weekend. Especially if someone challenges you on it and you have to be like, well, I'm busy, I'm doing a 24-hour stream. Do people watch? Well, I average like 2 to 3 viewers. No, I'm not really making any money. I realize these are the sacrifices people make in order to get to a point where they finally see fame and success, but it's still embarrassing to tell people when you're still largely a failure, and people don't view it as a justifiable excuse until after you've made it. Anyways, I started shifting my streams to start during my workday on Friday. I work from home and would talk to chat while I watch streams or YouTube videos, which is what I do all day to try and forget I'm at work. That way, as long as I didn't have any obligations until Saturday afternoon, I could always fit in my weekly marathon. And if I got all my work done, I'd sneak a little gaming in on stream. Shh, don't tell my boss. Around week 7, I started sprinkling in some more single player games. Mostly just whatever I was playing for the current YouTube content I was working on at the time. Varying degrees of success, but I wasn't making much progress. I'd get a few followers here and there, but I tended to lose a follower or two in between streams, so I was just hovering around the same total. I was getting discouraged, but all I needed was just a little breakthrough. And that finally came in week 10, with a 13 viewer raid by Xpatty. Shout out to that dude. I didn't look or sound enthusiastic when it happened because week 10 was actually a 31.5-hour stream and my brain was fried. Since my brother decided to show up towards the end of the normal 24-hour programming, and we had to get some gaming in. Twitch split the summary email into 2, but hitting a max of 15 viewers is almost unheard of for me. We got a few followers, a lot more chatters than I was used to, and despite running on empty at the end, I was excited to see where the future was going to take me. Heading into week 11, I had a new discovery: fitness and health. I started including my daily workout in the 24-hour streams. I mean, I was a little fat, but I was working on getting fit again, and I've worked out in some form for most of my life. And yeah, I was already working out while at work. Shh, don't tell my boss. I would usually start the stream with my workout, and then go straight into my working from home POV and any gaming I fit in on the clock, before continuing games into the night. I also played a really niche game this week for the last 6 hours or so of the stream with a friend called Anno 1800. It had very few streamers, which meant more discoverability. And all of this added up to my best stream yet, at least per the stream summary. Most unique viewers, max viewers, chatters, and followers. And while I was still hearing a lot of crickets over the 24-hour period, I felt like I was starting to gain traction. So I kept pushing forward, starting streams of the workout into the working from home POV, and then bouncing around between playing games for YouTube videos, multiplayer games with some friends, and the occasional casual stream game. I feel like I had a lot of variety, and I was seeing varying levels of success. Some weeks were stinkers. I'm looking at you, week 17. And there were a lot of ups and downs when it came to the actual numbers. But I was generally getting more buzz than when I started. I was actually getting the most interaction during the fitness and health portions of the stream, which seems to be riddled with homosexual Hispanics. Nothing wrong with that, obviously, that wasn't a punchline. But I encountered quite a few Spanish speakers typing in my chat in broken English, asking me to flex for them. And I found out I'm a total whore. Am I actually growing as a streamer, or am I just less fat now? Who can say? I also felt like I was starting to grow a community. I was seeing the same names in chat, checking in at some point each week just to see how things were going. Growth was a slow, gradual process. But I did feel like I was progressing, which was all the more motivation to keep pushing forward. And push forward I did. Week after week, you could expect me to go live for a 24-hour grind. If anything, I was consistent, and I was hoping that consistency would pay off. But as we crossed the halfway mark to a full year, I started to feel like we hit a wall. We were hovering around the same numbers for a while, and I needed my next big breakthrough. But I had a feeling this was going to be it. I had incredibly high expectations for week 29. We recently crossed over 300 followers on Twitch. I dropped my most successful YouTube video ever on the Stalker trilogy, and this was going to be my first 24-hour stream after Stalker 2 dropped. So I did my best to try and bring that audience over, and sat down for a full day of surviving the infamous zone. And no one cared. This was so deflating. I felt like I finally had my big moment on YouTube, and it would make things easier being able to carry over that audience onto Twitch for a chance of really making a name for myself. I had the hype of a new game, people were interested in my thoughts on it, and still, I spent most of the time streaming to nobody. I was loving the game, and so I didn't put too much thought into it, but going forward, I shied away from Stalker 2. And when I did use the 24-hour streams to chip away on the video I was working on, I was sure to add in other games as well. While I was feeling down, I tried to remember that this is supposed to be fun. Although I was starting to feel burnt out with the lack of success and long days, I love video games. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. And it was nice to have a little LAN party, grind out some ranked with the boys, and forget about chasing numbers from time to time. A little goofy gaming always helps keep morale high too. I was soldiering on, continuing the workout streams, experiencing some old classics for the first time, and replaying some old games that I love. I was thinking that playing older games with fewer streamers would help with discoverability. But I was just continuing on the same trajectory. No major outliers to the upside, just sort of coasting along without any true feeling of success. This went on for a while, and I was getting close to my 52-week goal. The highest interactions I had were always during my workouts, so I decided to really lean into it. I was never going to fill a baby pool up in my office and call it a hot tub, but I'll whore myself out. And so birthed the pre-work thirst trap streams. For week 40, I took my shirt off for parts of the workout, and it definitely garnered some attention. This was funny and all, but people sliding in my DMs wasn't helping me grow on Twitch. It did make me feel all warm and fuzzy though. I wonder how these numbers would have looked if I did a full 24-hour thirst trap. Instead, I went on with my workday and then gamed through the night. The next thirst trap came on week 42, and this was the best stream in the entire challenge so far. I don't know if it was the new mullet, the fact that I was getting slightly less fat over time, or just dumb luck. But it was working. I wasn't doing anything different post-workout, and I wasn't sitting there with an active chat for the full stream. But I felt like I was progressing. I had some legitimate regulars in chat showing up every week, and I was motivated to finish the challenge strong as we got down to the final 10 weeks. And I had an idea that I've been sitting on. With the current momentum, what if I did something completely unique on stream? Something nostalgic. Something that, quite frankly, I would want to watch. So for week 44, I decided to pull it off. I was going to spend the full 24 hours playing through my favorite and not so favorite PSP games. It was a console I loved growing up, something that led to some of my favorite gaming memories. And I couldn't be the only one. So I got to work setting up an emulator and getting access to games, including my favorites, highly reviewed titles, and just ones that I missed out on back in the day. I was so excited for this idea, and couldn't wait to chat with people about their experiences with the PSP. The only thing missing was the chatters, because no one cared. I'm obviously not entitled to viewers, and clearly my genius idea was a gross miscalculation. But this was another deflating moment on this journey. I thought I hit a gold mine, and it felt like it completely took away everything I was building towards. That wasn't really the case, and the next week was back to our regularly scheduled programming, seeing the run-of-the-mill numbers we've come to expect. One bad stream isn't a huge deal. It's just that there's something that cuts so much deeper when you think you finally have things figured out, just to realize you're still just as clueless as when you started. But as we wrap up week 45, we don't have time to sulk in our sorrows. We have 7 weeks left to hit our goal of a full year of weekly 24-hour streams. And we needed to at least finish strong so we have something to hang our hat on. I was still open to trying new things, so I figured I'd give the I'm only sleeping category a shot. Admittedly, it made fitting a 24-hour stream into my schedule infinitely easier. But I was struggling to get people to watch me actively participate in the stream, so why would sleeping on stream help my cause? Oh, I guess it's because no one cares what I do. On one hand, there's almost no interaction with the stream in the form of followers or chatters, but people are clicking. My guess is that it's just the nature of the category. People just clicking through to see the person sleeping, before quickly moving on to the next person. It was an interesting experiment, but getting someone to click on your stream is irrelevant if they don't stay or come back for more. I put a lot more value in people interacting with the stream, unless it's just one of those NPCs popping in to try and sell you a view bot. As we knock out our final weeks, I'm all out of new and innovative ideas. Not that any of them worked anyway. But I stuck to our formula of variety games, mixing throwback classics with the occasional new release, and really trying my damnedest to maximize my thirst traps. It was still my best source of interactions. Am I able to move my chest? Yeah. Too difficult? Can you even see it? Easy. Our stream stats were pretty consistent, without any crazy outliers. Just chugging along as we approach our final week, and the culmination of an entire year in the making. Not just the end of an extreme challenge, but a celebration of accomplishing our goal. We start week 52 like most weeks, hitting a daily workout, flexing as hard as humanly possible for the camera, and talking to chat while I pretend to work. We follow up with some gaming on the clock, and spend the rest of our night doing what I love most, getting cracked out on energy drinks and sweating my ass off in ranked games. We were playing Splitgate 2 at the time. I had an early morning flight for a family vacation the next day, so we played right up until we had to leave for the airport. It was the perfect way to send off the 24-hour streams and start off vacation week with a bang. We hit an all-time high follower count of 330 in the final hour of the stream, and ended with a little heart-to-heart for everyone that was part of this wild ride. And just like that, it was over. I wish I had some crazy story about how I ended this challenge Twitch famous or with a new source of supplemental income. But the truth is, I don't have much to show for it other than the amazing friends I made along the way. Shout out to Soup, Navi, Bowser, and everyone else that would check in every week to see if I was still going. Here's a graph to visualize the stream stats for each week. With a few extreme outliers, it seems like a bunch of random data points. But I'd like to call it a random walk with an upward drift. We definitely grew throughout and had bigger numbers at the end than the beginning, but far from consistent, steady growth. The bar graph of my Twitch analytics for the entirety of this 52-week challenge shows a lot more consistency as time went on, with a steady increase in average viewers each month. This includes additional streams between the weekly 24 hours, but you get the point. I made a whopping $119.86. If you do the math, that's 8 cents an hour. Don't quit your day job, kids. So what are some key takeaways? For one, I think it's safe to say you can't brute force your way into success on Twitch. Turns out, if you aren't incredibly highly skilled at video games or have a special talent for entertainment, people generally aren't going to want to watch you. Who would have known? 24-hour and other marathon streams like subathons are immensely popular right now, and streamers tend to see incredible growth when doing them. But those are streamers that have already established an audience, who love tuning into them and want to throw their support behind a large goal. If I had to give advice to someone getting into streaming, I'd say avoid long marathon streams at first. If people aren't tuning into your 4 to 6 hour streams, then they aren't going to stick around just because you decided to go for 24 hours. Prove that the product you're putting out is working, and then pivot your efforts into giving more of it. With that being said, I still feel some sort of satisfaction from surviving an entire year. It was a tough challenge, and I wanted to quit plenty of times. But having the self-discipline and consistency to pull it off is a huge part of the person I am. I think most people would have quit way before week 52 once they realized they weren't garnering the attention they were hoping for. But I'm glad I saw it through to the end. So where does that leave me now? Honestly, I don't know. I think it's clear that I don't have the it factor to make it in content creation. Twitch and YouTube don't seem like efficient uses of my time. I'm 31 now. I should probably find a wife and start a family, right? But who would even date me? On a serious note, I think I'm going to chill for a bit. But I just want to say thanks again to Soup, Navi, and Bowser for being the MVPs of the last year. And shout out to the friends I've made from creating content over the years. Genuine friends like Mr. Vids and Junkie that I wouldn't have met if it weren't for Twitch or YouTube. And thanks to you for watching this video right now. Whether you've been around for the hundreds of YouTube videos and thousands of hours streamed on Twitch, or if this is the first piece of content you've seen from me, I appreciate you giving me some of your time. And whether or not there is a next time, this is Rehab signing out. Later. But first, have you ever gone outside? Because I have.
Well, this fucking sucks.
As a gamer, I don't go outside often, but when I do, it's usually to snowboard. And there's nothing I like more than some rad apparel to complement my interests. Insert Skip the Last, where you can express your love for the mountain year-round with their après ski apparel. They have a little bit of everything, with dope designs and colors to make you the flyest shredder on the mountain. The company is run and owned by my cousin, who's been featured on the channel with the self-proclaimed greatest game battles Ninja Diffuse in COD World War II. And he hooked me up with my first creator code to get you 5% off your order. Just use code REHAB at checkout. I just tried it and it actually worked, which was a nice surprise. And I've paid for all my Skip the Last gear with my own hard earned cash, so you know I stand by their products. Gotta support the fam. I'd really appreciate it if you gave them a follow on Instagram, checked out their site, and if you find something you like, grab some gear. And don't forget to use code REHAB at checkout for 5% off your order. Now, back to the video.